guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Now for today's video, we're going to be picking up coverage of a penny stock that we've talked about on the channel before. The company name is Ayurcann Holdings, and they're one of the top players in the post-cultivation cannabis space here in Canada. Now before we get into today's presentation, please take a second, you guys, hit the like button. It's a huge help to both myself and the channel. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to do so. And let me know in the comment section below what you think of Ayurcann, if you're currently holding shares, and how you think they stack up to the competition in this space. Now with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay guys, so that's right. Today's video, we're going to be providing an update on Ayurcann Holdings Corporation. Now this is a company we've talked about on the channel previously. Our last video came out about 4 months ago, and since then the company has had a number of big developments that we're going to cover in today's presentation. So since then, Ayurcann has put out a 2022 update, which we're going to talk about first up in today's video. They've expanded their points of distribution across Canada, which is huge news for this company moving into the new year. And they've come out with a brand new January 2022 investor presentation, which we're going to take a deep dive into later in today's video. Now, before we get into all of that, I did want to bring up the stock chart here, a 6-month view. So I'm currently invested in this company. My average share price is 21 cents Canadian. You can see they trade on the CSE here in Canada under the ticker symbol AYUR. They're also listed now on the OTC in the States under the ticker symbol CDCLF, so you can trade on both exchanges. The company share price has pulled back a little bit over the last 6 months, so they were trading in the low to mid 20s. Now they're in the mid-teens, and you can see as of close on January 21st, Ayurcann Holdings actually closed out at 15 cents Canadian. Now, based on this pullback, I think this is a great buying opportunity. The market cap on this company is now sub $20 million Canadian. And as you're going to see later in today's presentation, when we actually compare Ayurcann to other post-cultivation extraction type companies here in Canada, the shares are extremely cheap compared to their peers. And I think this investment offers tremendous upside in the coming quarters and years. Now with that being said, and for those of you who've maybe missed our last presentation on Ayurcann, I wanted to jump over to the company website and give you guys a brief description of what they're all about. So there's really 2 divisions within Ayurcann Holdings. There's the Ayurcann Concentrates, which is really focused on post-harvest requirements of various different licensed producers or LPs here in Canada. They offer end-to-end full outsourcing solutions, which include services like extraction, refinement, formulation, packaging, fulfillment, and distribution. Ayurcann has the experience, expertise, and network to assist partners in Canada and internationally with a variety of these different services and offerings. Now on the other side of the coin, they've got Ayurcann Marketplace. This is operated by Ayurcann, which is a licensed producer of Cannabis 2.0 medicinal or medical products. And Ayurcann Marketplace offers a variety of different medicinal products to make sure that patients and clients really get the right medicine according to their individual needs. Now, I really like how the company is set up here with multiple or diversified revenue streams, and that's going to be a theme of today's presentation as we talk about overall top-line revenue growth and the different aspects or avenues in which Ayurcann is really achieving that growth. And it is worth mentioning, again, the leadership team here behind Ayurcann Holdings. So we've talked about the CEO and co-founder, Yigal Sudman, on the channel before. He's really the visionary or the pioneer behind this company. I love businesses that are founder-led, you guys, as we've talked about on the channel previously. And that's exactly the case here with Ayurcann Holdings. Yigal Sudman has over 20 years experience in a variety of different industries, ranging all the way from real estate development to technology and now cannabis. And he's got practical experience building and scaling companies from seed or creation to mainstream society, and that's actually landed him a feature in Canada Profit 50. Now, in addition to Igal, Ayurcann really has a rockstar leadership team, so I would encourage you guys to jump over to the website. I'll leave a link in the video description below and really take a look at the management team and directors behind this company, because I think, as we've mentioned on the channel previously, when you're investing in penny stocks or small caps like this, you really are investing in the leadership team. And based on what I can find, this is a very solid group of individuals that bring together a great balance of practical or tactical experience with educational background. Now, with that being said, the first article I wanted to cover in today's video came out Thursday, January 20th. It's titled Ayurcann Holdings Provides Corporate Update for 2022, so the upcoming year. There's a number of golden nuggets in this press release, and I wanted to spend a couple of seconds on the top highlights here. So in my opinion, the number one development moving into 2022 really has to center around the capacity Ayurcann has now put together. So they've completed the expansion of their GTA facility. They now have the extraction and refinement capacity of 300,000 kilograms annually, which really makes them one of the top players here in Canada, as we're going to see towards the end of the presentation. They offer a number of different extraction and refinement services, ranging from bulk extraction to winterization and fractional distillation. And they currently have 300 kilograms of both THC and CBD in their inventory available for bulk oil sales. So we're going to talk about some of the various different revenue streams. Bulk oil sales is definitely a big one for Ayurcann Holdings, and they've now really established themselves and their products as the gold standard here in Canada. Now, on the distribution front, they're now working with 10 national and international brands for white labeling. So again, another revenue stream here. And they're continuing to bring new products and new SKUs to markets in various different provinces across Canada. Now, if you look back over 2021, Ayurcann sold over 1 billion grams of THC and CBD distillate through a variety of different product formats, including vapes, tinctures, topicals, and edibles. And again, that was in combination with some of these top brands in Canada. They've entered the province of Saskatchewan in December with their Fuego vapes and Vita high potency oils, which now represent the number 2 and 4 top selling vape position in the province of Saskatchewan. So extremely successful entrance into that market. And as we mentioned in the intro, Ayurcann is now shipping to the provinces of Ontario, Manitoba, Alberta, and New Brunswick. So really coast to coast here in Canada with some of the top selling products, which include their Fuego vapes, Vita tinctures, and Glow topicals. And again, the CEO, Igal Sudman, goes on to say, we are thrilled to see our market penetration and revenues growing consistently. So again, top line revenue growth here with new partnerships and board listings growing in various categories throughout Canada. We are proud to be one of the very few in our peer group showing consistent positive operating income, which we're going to get into later in the financial update component. And we can confidently say we are fully expecting to show continued profits, gain market share, while building on the momentum into 2022. Now, in addition to that, you can see in terms of capacity, we've increased bulk production up to 300,000 kilograms per year, which we just mentioned, and have the ability to now co-pack up to 3 million production products for the medical and recreational market. So this, in my opinion, is absolutely massive for Ayurcann, you guys. And the fact that they're now able to pack this volume of products is extremely impressive and exciting to me as an investor in this company. And the second article is really an extension of what we just talked about in terms of distribution. So this came out at the start of January 5th. Talks about Ayurcann entering the Ontario adult use or recreational market with their best-selling Fuego vape brand. And the article goes on to state Ayurcann is now pleased to announce the launch of their high-potency THC-branded Fuego vapes. Ayurcann will launch their line of vapes in the province of Ontario via the OCS or Ontario Cannabis Store, and products will also be available or made available through additional adult use channels, including authorized retailers across Ontario. So for me, this really shows the demand is there for these type of products. And again, Igal Sudman goes on to say, we are thrilled to announce Fuego's initial entrance into the largest Canadian market through the OCS. So again, this is adult use recreational here we're talking, where we are optimistic about its market potential as an industry-leading value brand line. We have successfully been selling this product in New Brunswick, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and believe that the interest from consumers and retailers will help set the standard for vape products in Ontario. So obviously a lot to be excited about in terms of recent news developments or announcements from Ayurcann Holdings. And with that being said, we're now going to shift gears and jump in to the updated investor presentation, which was just released in January of 2022. Now this slide here is a perfect kickoff point in my personal opinion because it really talks about a number of the reasons I'm so bullish on Ayurcann Holdings in a nice summary type of table. Now we're going to expand on a lot of these as we go through the investor presentation, but there's definitely a few I wanted to touch on before we get into all of that. So in my personal opinion, the number one thing I love about this company, you guys, aside from the growth, the diversified revenue streams, the expanding capacity and production, is the fact that the company is actually debt-free. And this is such an important and rare thing to find really with any company, but especially small and micro-cap companies, because it really gives them a tremendous amount of flexibility in terms of their business operations. Now, in addition to that, we've already talked about the Canada-wide distribution. On the financial side of things, Ayurcann has now put up 3 consecutive quarters of positive EBITDA and cash flow. So again, very healthy company in terms of their financials. They've got 6 recreational brands and 3 medicinal brands in market across Canada. Now, on the financial side of things here, you'll see 2 points. So number one, very low OPEX, which gives the company massive operating leverage. They've got high gross margins in the neighborhood of about 49%. So compared to their peers, extremely healthy margins here, you guys. And the other point is they're very asset light, or they've got an asset light business model, which means they've got relatively low spend on CapEx or capital expenditures. So low CapEx, low OPEX, which means really they've got low costs, you guys, and that's what enables them to really perform at such a high level in terms of their finances. And in addition to all of that, they've now got upwards of 90 category listings across Canada. So a ton of things to really be excited about. And now we're going to dive in and expand on some of these points in a little bit more detail. Now, market opportunity or total addressable market, TAM, is something we talk about in a lot of my videos. And I thought this was important to throw in here, you guys, because it really speaks to the vision that the management team has here at Ayurcann. Now, overall, in terms of the cannabis market here in Canada, it's no surprise that we're seeing growth. So in 2020, the total value of the market was estimated just north of $3 billion. We're seeing that grow 3 times or 3x moving into 2025 to just north of 10 billion. So that's phenomenal to see on a macro scale. But even more exciting to me is when you start to look at the actual different Cannabis 2.0 segments and the various different product types, you can see the growth is even more rapid. So in 2019, if you're to add up the different components of the market in which Ayurcann really operates, so topicals, edibles, vape pens, capsules, you're looking at a total of about 15% of the addressable market. Now, if we fast forward to 2022, so this year's estimate, and you add up 1% topicals, 9% edibles, 18% vape pens, and 6% from capsules or tinctures, you're looking at about 35% of the overall market, which translates to about 230% growth in just 3 years. So not only is Ayurcann really excelling in their respective division, but they've also identified extremely high growth categories within the overall cannabis market. And that's really a perfect segue to this slide here, which talks about that natural evolution within the cannabis industry. So in the early days of cannabis legalization here in Canada, really companies were focused on vertical integration, kind of being that jack of all trades, and they really did have to do a lot of things in-house. For example, processes like extraction, because there weren't really a lot of established third-party service providers. Now that companies have really had a chance to establish themselves and really hone in or specialize on different aspects of the value chain, you're starting to see companies evolve as specialists in their respective categories. And that's really what's described in the 4th point here. As the industry matures, companies specialize and develop competitive advantages in certain segments of the value chain, whether that be cultivation, manufacturing, distribution, or branding. And that's really what we're going to see here as we move to the next slide, which talks about the areas of the value chain in which Ayurcann has really focused on. So Ayurcann, again, is post-cultivation focused. They're looking to add value through extraction, formulation, purification, manufacturing, fulfillment, packaging, and branding. And from there, they're really able to address the market, whether it's medical on the Ayurcann marketplace side of things, or recreational through those 87 Canadian national listings and their 9 recreational cannabis brands. And this is something we've talked about on the channel previously. I really feel like this is where you want to be in terms of investing in the cannabis market. I feel like the cultivation space is overly competitive, and that's really driving down profitability and gross margins for these companies. And the nice thing about that is as the cultivation space continues to be more competitive, that actually drives down the input cost for companies like Ayurcann who are focused on post-harvest or post-cultivation activity. And that's really what we're going to see come to fruition as we start to talk about their various different offerings to LPs and brands here in Canada. So again, in the essence of diversified revenue, there's really 3 components of the Ayurcann business model outside of the medical offering. So there's their extraction and refinement, bulk oil sales, and white label manufacturing. And as we start to dive into these in a little bit more detail, you'll see exactly what I'm meaning in terms of those low input costs. So on the extraction and refinement side, we can see tremendous growth from Ayurcann. If we look at the last 4 quarters, they extracted 380 kilograms of biomass in Q1 of 2021. That was up 600% to 2,400 kilograms in Q2. Q3, we saw 4,500 kilograms of extracted biomass, and by Q4 of last year, they extracted 9,308 kilograms, which was a 205% increase from Q3. Now, one of the points they specifically call out here, you guys, is their low cost and high volume production capabilities. And one of the main reasons for that low cost is because they're able to acquire input material at such competitive rates. Now, Ayurcann has really evolved or emerged as an ethanol extraction specialist here in Canada, and that's enabled them to produce over 2 million grams of cannabis extract. Now, if we jump over to the bulk oil side of things, they actually sold 1.25 or 1.25 million grams of cannabis extract in 2021. You can see, second point here, they've now secured monthly biomass supply to ensure this high throughput. So they've actually locked down a supplier for their input of organic material. So that's extremely important as we start to think about all of the supply chain challenges we're seeing across the planet right now. They've got a secure and cost-effective input strategy. As we mentioned in the intro, monthly inventory right now is sitting just over 300 kilograms of distillate, and that on-hand inventory really gives Ayurcann the flexibility to provide various different LPs, products like edibles, topicals, and vape cartridges on demand. Now, the third component here is that white label manufacturing. Again, capacity in excess of 3 million co-packed units. They're working with a number of different partnerships or companies across Canada, which include Explore, Joints, Hustle and Shake, WeedMe, Fuego, Vita. Again, combining for that 87 national listings, reaching from coast to coast, BC on the west side, all the way to New Brunswick on the east side, and continuing to grow quarter after quarter. So regardless of which offering you really look at, whether we're talking extraction, refinement, the bulk oil sales themselves, or the white label manufacturing and co-packing, we're seeing tremendous growth across the board from Ayurcann. And that growth is really what's driving these impressive financial results that we saw for 2021 and moving into 2022. So to round out last fiscal year, Ayurcann generated just about $8 million of top-line revenue, which represented 1,150% growth over fiscal 2020, which is absolutely mind-blowing, you guys. Operating income came in at $2.16 million, which was up 440% over fiscal 2020, and gross margins came in at 60%. And Ayurcann is really looking to continue or build on that momentum moving into Q1 of 2022. So you're looking at 1.9 million of top line revenue, which represents year-over-year growth of 137%. Gross margins in the neighborhood of $931,000, which again is a 550% increase year over year compared to Q1 of 2021. And gross margins, as I alluded to earlier in the presentation, at 49%, which is extremely competitive for any of the other companies in this space. And speaking of other companies in this space, this slide here really does a great job of laying out the competitive landscape. And from a valuation perspective, you guys, this is probably the number one reason I'm so excited about Ayurcann moving into 2022. Now, there's a number of different data points on this slide. We've talked about a number of these companies on the channel previously. So we've covered MediPharm Labs, Neptune, and Valens at lengths on the channel. The numbers I really wanted to draw your attention to, you guys, are number one, the annual extraction capacity at full expansion. So as we saw in those recent news articles, Ayurcann is now up to 300,000 kilograms annually, which really puts them miles ahead of companies like Neptune, which are sitting at 100,000 kilograms. In terms of location, Ayurcann is located in the GTA or Greater Toronto Area, which is the most populous area here in Canada. So compared to some of the other companies like Valens, which is located in Kelowna, BC, much smaller markets, even as you look into Barrie or Ottawa. But really, in my opinion, the most important number on this page, you guys, is enterprise value. And when you start to compare the ratio of enterprise value to annual extraction capacity. Now, for example, if we look at Neptune, they're trading at an enterprise value of just under $100 million, so about 5 times that of Ayurcann, but they've got a third of the extraction capacity. And that's exactly why I feel like this is such an undervalued play here, and there's such tremendous upside for investors in Ayurcann. And on the other side of things, if you compare to some of the bigger players here, so the Valens company, for example, yes, they do have slightly higher annual extraction capacity, sitting at 425,000 kilograms, but they're trading at an enterprise value nearly 14 to 15 times what we're seeing with Ayurcann. And that's after the dramatic share price pullback we've seen over the last couple of months. So in my opinion, you guys, Ayurcann really does provide the best upside if you're looking for exposure to the cannabis space, specifically extraction or post-cultivation processing. And for those reasons, this is a company I'm happy to hold and continue to add to as we're seeing short-term dips in the share price. Now, with that being said, you guys, to wrap things up here, Ayurcann has shown tremendous growth over 2021. They've got no debt on their books. They're continuing to put up positive adjusted EBITDA quarter after quarter, expanding their distribution, expanding the number of products and SKUs they have in market, and the investment community really isn't giving them the credit that they deserve, in my personal opinion. So I think this is a perfect buying opportunity if you've been waiting to gain some exposure to this space, not to mention all of the macro bullish catalysts for cannabis overall. So the pending federal US legalization down south, we've got countries across the world really loosening their policies towards recreational medical cannabis use within their borders. So I think there's a ton of tailwinds for this category and sector moving forward. And I think of all the different companies you could potentially invest in here in Canada, Ayurcann definitely deserves to be on your watch list and for you to take a closer look. Now, with that being said, you guys, I would love to hear your thoughts on Ayurcann in the comment section below, what you think of this company if you're currently holding shares, and how you think they stack up to some of the other competition in this space. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, McNallie Money, feel free to do so. And if you're still watching the video at this point, hopefully you found some value, so make sure you hit the like button on your way out. That's all for today, you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.